live on News Talk Radio News 88.9. This is the Morning News with Tara Clow. Now, here's Tara.
Good morning and welcome back to the Morning News on News 91.9 and News 88.9. Thanks so much for being with us this morning. Have you ever been chosen to be in a wedding party or, for instance, invited to a wedding that they're spending a lot of money on and you just don't know what to do with regards to a gift, or perhaps you are concerned about all the money you'll have to spend on your bridesmaid's dress or your maid of honor's dress and all the bachelorette parties and all the bridal showers, and it ends up being a lot of money out of your pocket that you didn't want to pay for? We're joined now by Allison McGill, who is with Wedding Bells Magazine. Thanks so much for being with us, Allison.
Good morning.
A big concern for a lot of people, I would think, both of those categories with regards to being a guest invited to a wedding that's costing a lot of money, and you're thinking, what do I give them as a gift? How do you overcome these stresses?
Well, I mean, a lot of couples today, the number one thing that they do for their guests that is very beneficial when it comes to gifting is setting up the gift registry. And this is nothing new, but the gift registry is something that continues to be a really strong and key part of wedding planning. And the great thing about it is couples typically select things for the registry at all price points and from all different categories. We're talking about everything from the home to travel ideas. So in a way, the couple is cutting the stress for the guests on that front.
So they don't have to actually be thinking about, they know exactly what the couple wants. If they do take advantage of that gift registry, for instance, they just can look on the list and say, oh, okay, instead of buying them the toaster that they don't need, we'll buy something off of that list instead.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good guidance because, most couples today, as the Wedding Bells Reader Survey indicates, they are living together. The average age of a bride is 31 years old. So this is a person who is, established in her life, established in her career, and they're two people who've already set up a home. So the gift registry is great for a number of reasons because they kind of let guests know exactly what they may need for their home, and it takes the guesswork out of it, and it also takes the stress off of the wedding guests because they don't have to be wondering about how much they have to pay for a gift. With gifts at all price points, they kind of have a range to choose from.
What's the average that an individual would fork out on a wedding if they were invited to one?
In terms of a guest or just as an event as a whole?
No, as in terms of a guest.
As a guest, again, it really depends. The gifting subject is such a hot topic. We've heard these stories over the past couple of years where people, brides and grooms, get nasty emails and Facebooks and tweets about, they actually send out nasty messages to their guests that the gifting was inappropriate, and it's really gone to another level. And, my take on the gifting issue when it comes to weddings is you give a gift because you want to. And, in challenging economic times, we are looking at people who, may be between jobs. Like there's so many factors that feed into what we are going to pay for gifting for a wedding. So I think it's all within reason, and it's always what you're comfortable with.
With regards to, on the other side, is if you are throwing the wedding, what is generally the average cost of a wedding, I guess, for a big wedding these days?
Well, according to our 2014 Reader Survey stats at Wedding Bells, the average size of a wedding is 128 guests, and the cost is coming in just around $28,000, and that is not including an engagement ring or a honeymoon. So with those factors included, it's up to just under $38,000. So
what would that get you in that $28,000? Would that be? That doesn't sound like an immaculate wedding. You're talking 128 guests, but what would that get you in the way of food and venue and that type of thing?
Right. Well, we do a cost breakdown on all of this. I mean, the number one thing that you're paying the most amount of money for when it comes to the planning is your venue, and that comes in sort of just under $10,000. So the $28,000, it does break down into every category. It's the dress, it's photography, it's flowers, it's cakes, all the bells and whistles that are associated with that wedding. But let's again stress that this, is just sort of an average statistic. You can certainly do a wedding for less. You can do a wedding for $10,000 if you do a lot of DIY and you're very savvy about your spending and you're not having a very big wedding. Or you can, sky's the limit. Couples will spend what they project that they need to get that party that they want. And that is one thing that we've learned at Wedding Bells is that couples definitely want their day their way, and they will do what it takes to make it happen.
With regards to the wedding dress, did you do a survey at all what the average cost of a wedding dress would be right now?
Yes, it was just under $2,000, so around $1,900 is what brides are telling us they're projecting to spend on their wedding dress.
It's just the amount seems so much like so much money when it comes to a wedding. I guess it's because with myself, I wanted the nice wedding, and we did spend a lot of money on the dress, and this is many years ago, but. It just, to me, you spend so much money on all these things. And of course, with inflation, I understand everything is going up. So it's costing so much more now. And then it seems to just end in a second. I think it's great, but it just seems to be so much money is spent for an event that ends so quickly, or it feels like it ends so quickly.
Yeah, and I mean, this is again where couples, they need to make a list. I always say it's sort of their negotiables and their non-negotiables. Like when it comes to planning their party, what's the most important thing? Couples spend a lot of money and pay a lot of attention to their catering these days because every great party, everybody walks away talking about what amazing food. So that's a real focus. The dress is still a focus. Having a party that's individual, that looks like no other wedding that any of the guests have been to, that has been a focus for quite some time. And people are really kind of going above and beyond to get that party that they need. And, sometimes that comes at a price tag. And, I think you have to keep grounded about it. You have to set your budget. You have to stick to your budget because we know that they can go off the rails pretty quickly when it comes to planning an event like this. And, enjoy that day because you say it does go very fast. But you want to make sure it's like the best party you've ever been to and that you've ever thrown.
Is it all about the woman still? Is it still all about the woman making all the decision, the woman being the center of attention? Have things changed at all in that respect, do you think, Allison?
I think very much so. I mean, grooms are much more involved in the wedding planning. Like I say, when it comes to the food and the drink list, men are definitely very involved in that. And I think it's a more, certainly it's not every couple, but I do see a lot of couples who are quite collaborative in the experience.
Okay. With regards to the little things, I imagine I know parents used to be very involved in weddings, and I think that's changing a little bit with regards to couples themselves. They're setting their own budget, and they're looking at whether they can afford it, and maybe they have parents that might pitch in a little bit, but it's more about the couple themselves spending the money. Is that true?
Absolutely. Again, it goes back to us talking about the average age of a couple. They're in their 30s, and they want to be able to pay for this event themselves. Most of them do pay for it themselves, and as you've noted, family can still contribute, but that whole dynamic has shifted as well.
We talk about the wedding itself with a big price tag, but then also there comes at a cost. You have your bachelor parties and your bachelorette parties and your wedding showers, and they can all be costly as well.
Absolutely.
And so are those things that would be standard? Like, what is the standard number, do you know, of bridal showers that a person should be having, or is it all depending on the individual person?
I think it all depends on the individual person. There used to be sort of a cookie-cutter module of who was throwing the showers and how many there were. But, in so many instances now I hear of, there's one shower, there's 5 showers, there's girls' getaways, guys' getaways. So, again, it's a great time to get married because there's lots of choices and the rules have definitely been flexed and bent and thrown out the window in many ways. So, no hard and fast rule on that, but the parties can add up, that's for sure.
And with respect to the bridesmaid's dress or the maid of honor dress, is there any statistics on the average price that we should be looking at when it comes to a dress cost there, or?
Well, our stats have told us that it's around a cost of $500, but that's also a cost. I mean, typically speaking, that's not a cost that's expected to be covered by the bride and the groom. So that is a cost that is covered by the individual. Now, in some cases, yes, brides do treat their girls to their dresses and accessories, but again, it's not necessarily how it always is.
Is it that just seems like a costly endeavor? I guess if it's for your best friend, someone you've been friends with for a very long time, but if it's someone that you don't know as well as, they ask you to be a bridesmaid and you're asked to spend $500, is it rude to decline, I guess, if you can't afford that kind of thing, do you think?
I don't think it's rude to decline. I think that you have to position it in such a way that perhaps you maybe ask if there's another important role you could play in the ceremony. If there's other things you can do, because maybe perhaps at this time it's not something that is within your means to make this investment.
Where can our listeners find your statistics and also get access to Wedding Bells magazine, Alison?
Wedding Bells magazines is on newsstands across Canada, and the statistics from our readers' set and all kinds of great wedding planning tips and tricks are at weddingbells.ca.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks.